Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. Got a pretty straightforward video for you guys on today. I have got 8 fragrances right here that I consider to be winter all-stars. What do I mean by that? Are there more than 8 fragrances that are awesome for the winter time? Of course. I just simply chose 8 today that I think work great for the winter season. This is a combination of fragrances that, just in my own opinion, I think are awesome for the winter season, as well as some that I have actually been wearing throughout this current winter season. So let's go ahead and get it started. But before we do, as always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and remember to hit that bell icon and enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, first up from the house of Parfums de Marly, this is Carlisle. Parfums de Marly, Carlisle. I would imagine this is probably not a surprise to most. Very popular scent in the community. I imagine it does well in overall sales for the brand as well. And there's no doubt, as soon as you get your nose on this, it's like, yeah, this is sweet, it's spicy, has a little bit of a floral touch to it. There's notes like patchouli in this, and rose and vanilla, tonka bean, a little bit of green, apple, and saffron to open it up. It's a fairly rich fragrance. Definitely smells like something that you can rock in the cool weather. This is relatively new to me, so I have worn it a couple of times since I've gotten it, but it's only really been cool here since I have had it. So I actually haven't experienced this in warmer weather myself, and those of you who've been watching me a little bit longer know I don't mind wearing cool weather fragrances when it's hot out. Kind of have to here in Florida, otherwise you can't wear half your fragrances. Beyond all of that, this is a great winter fragrance, and I would imagine it's probably on a lot of people's winter all-star or cold weather all-star fragrance list if there were such a thing. So I think this fragrance is great for winter, so makes it on this list. Once again, from Parfums de Marly, this is Carlisle. All right, next one's coming from the Harmonist. We've got Hypnotizing Fire. The Harmonist, Hypnotizing Fire. Now, I do have to say this about this fragrance. First of all, it just smells amazing. But from scent alone, I kind of find it to be more of a fall fragrance. It has this kind of airiness to it. It's not overly rich, but the thing about it is the fragrance is so freaking powerful, it'll cut through some cold weather. So I would say this is just a cold weather scent in general. Very bright and spicy fragrance. There's spices like pimento in here. There's also a little bit of rose. There is lots of vanilla in this. There's a little bit of a boozy vibe, but it's not very strong. But fragrance is very vibrant and alive, so to speak. But it's also just very, very powerful, making it strong enough to cut through some cold weather, in my opinion. And I actually have worn this when it has been warm out and cold out, and I can just say that, yeah, it definitely has enough oomph, so to speak, to cut through some winter weather. So once again, from the Harmonist, this is Hypnotizing Fire. All right, next one's coming from the house of Chanel, and this is Le Lion de Chanel. Chanel, Le Lion de Chanel. I actually bought this fragrance in Minnesota. It was fall time, so it wasn't necessarily winter, but it was definitely kind of going through a phase where it was getting cooler at the end of my trip there. So I bought this and wore it on my last day there, and it was like in the low 40s, maybe it even hit the 30s. So immediately I got to experience this fragrance in the cold, and I've certainly worn it a number of times since then. But all I gotta say is, as far as Chanel is concerned, this is their richest, kind of heaviest fragrance in the exclusives line, and I would have to agree. Very ambery scent. Features a lot of labdanum in here, so it's quite resinous as well. Has a spicy touch to it, a little bit of an earthiness to it. There's even a hint of like a sweatiness in here. There's no cumin listed as an accord, and I don't smell cumin either. That's often what we associate with the sweaty smell, but there's a little bit of a light animalic, sweaty kind of smell to it. But I freaking love this scent, and it is very, very powerful. Easily a winter friendly fragrance in my opinion, and because it's one of my favorites, I think it deserves to be on the winter all-stars list for me. So once again, from the house of Chanel, this is Le Lion de Chanel. All right, next up, coming from the house of BDK Parfums, we've got Gris Charnel Extrait. BDK Parfums Gris Charnel Extrait de Parfum. So compared to the original Gris Charnel, you could say that's probably more of a fall temp fragrance. This one is a lot richer, a lot fuller. Spice is turned up a bit in this one. So I would say this is the winter version of that, or at least the more winter friendly version of the Gris Charnel DNA. It's a spicy, woody fig fragrance overall. A lot of cardamom mixing with the fig in the opening of the fragrance. There's woods like sandalwood and cedarwood in this. And it also features quite a bit of vanilla and tonka bean, so it has a lot of sweet elements to it as well. But yeah, look, listen, I'm sorry, I just love this scent. It just smells so good. I slept on it for a long time and I eventually got it. But anyway, yeah, great for the winter time. Enough of a richness to it, a coziness, very cozy fragrance as well. Also something I think that's great for a winter scent. So this one definitely deserves to be on my all-star list. So once again, from the house of BDK Parfums, this is Gris Charnel Extrait de Parfum. All right, next one's coming from the house of Xerjoff, and this is Kemi. Xerjoff's Kemi. So this fragrance here is sweet and animalic. Yep, interesting combination. Features a very kind of fruity, almost candied caramel sweetness to it. I almost feel like there may be like a strawberry-like sweetness mixing with the caramel accord. That's not listed as a part of the notes of the fragrance, but that's just kind of how I experience it. And then there's a lot of Laotian oud in this. And there's also some castoreum, and then there's civet, and there's some other woods. So it has an animalic touch to it. I think that animalic touch just helps this fragrance really push through the cold while also adding this interesting, sexy primalness to it. But it's overwhelmingly sweet, more so than it is woody and animalic. I think you experience the sweetness first, but that sweetness is quite rich, so it'll cut through some cold weather. And I am just blown away by this scent. I sampled it a while back. I was blown away by it then. I recently got it in, and I still am just like mind blown about how much I like this fragrance. And it's an instant winter all-star in my collection. So once again, from the house of Xerjoff, this is Kemi. All right, next one's coming from the house of Amouage. This is Interlude Man. Amouage Interlude Man. So this one here, if you're familiar with it, which I imagine most of you are, spicy, woody, leathery, smoky, a little bit resinous, very dark fragrance, very interesting fragrance, very unique, very intriguing, very oriental style fragrance, heavy fragrance. This one definitely is a fragrance that will cut through some cold weather because the overwhelming experience is just heavy, you know, very leathery, very woody, very smoky. I love this fragrance. I loved it at first sniff. This is not for everyone, as those of you who are familiar with it would probably agree. And I would also be willing to bet that even if you're someone who wouldn't necessarily wear this fragrance, you can understand that this is one that would work well in winter, you know, the winter season, so to speak. It easily can cut through some cold. It just has that much weight to it. I've worn this when it's been warm out, but definitely will easily work with cutting through some cold weather as well. So, kind of an all-star just from being, you know, a well-known fragrance in the community, in my opinion, but also just great for the winter. So once again, from the house of Amouage, this is Interlude Man. Next up, from the house of Mason Francis Kirkjohn, this is Grand Soir. Mason Francis Kirkjohn Grand Soir. I mean, do I really need to go into too much detail why this is on the all-star list? While it's not, you know, the best amber fragrance, you know, to ever come out on the market, it's certainly one of the most popular, one of the most easily worn, one of the most known about, one of the most liked. And for that reason, I'm gonna have it on this list. It's perfect for winter, honestly. It's great amount of amber, but mixing with enough kind of like vanillic accords, or should I say using enough vanilla and also tonka bean in that amber accord to just give it this cozy sweetness that is just freaking awesome. And it certainly will cut through some cold weather and just smell so amazing while doing it. So once again, from the house of Mason Francis Kirkjohn, this is Grand Soir. All right, the final fragrance for this list from the house of Dior. This is Dior Homme Parfum. Dior Homme Parfum. In my opinion, out of the Dior Homme line, this is the Homme Parfum. This is the Dior Homme that was made specifically, well, not specifically, but made to be the best choice in the coldest of temperatures. This is the heaviest version of the Dior Homme, original Dior Homme Iris fragrances. I love that leather accord in there that just kind of adds to the weight of it. The iris is about as rich and powdery and creamy as you can make it. Also just a hint of sweetness along with it. And also the fragrance is strong. It packs a punch, lasts all day. Easily will cut through some cold weather without you having to spray it heavily, in my opinion. And honestly, the awesome composition that this fragrance is part of the reason why it deserves to be on a winter all-star fragrance list, as well as it just performing excellent in winter during the winter season. So once again, from the house of Dior, this is Dior Homme Parfum. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Feel free to leave down in the comments below what is a fragrance that you would add to this list if you were going to create a winter all-star fragrance list. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. Really do appreciate you all. Remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.